thank you for joining me. This clip pays attention to how knowledge is shared at each stage of the Tuckman model. What I'd like you to be mindful of is how this fits in and alongside the other bits of information, the other clips that you've seen, and I hope that you will be able to see this idea of growth away from the individual and quite closed into a far more open and synergous relationship between areas of understanding and behaviour and where we're at any one stage in the Tuckman model. Okay, so I hope there's something useful and interesting here for you. As we are preparing this clip, it's early June in 2020, and the sharing of knowledge seems to have a particular relevance in these days. Let's take a look, shall we? I think that one of the really uncomfortable things about the Tuckman model is it starts to ask you what sort of a person you are. And this seems to be of particular relevance when we're talking about the sharing of knowledge. I do recall quite vividly being told by a senior manager, John, don't forget, knowledge is power, be very careful who you give it away to and why. And much as I saw the point at the time, it wasn't a particularly helpful point, and it left me sort of feeling quite exposed, really. Well, who do I talk to, what do I share, what's okay to say and what's not. I was actually permanently dropped into that sort of forming storming stage with my own understanding of what I should share. But let's move this into the team situation, shall we? So we have a new team, a reformed team, or a repurposed team, and at the poker player stage, it is literally that. It is about keeping your cards close to your chest and giving no tells about what it is that you might have, that you might know, that could influence the wider scenario, the game. Great, you can feel good about what you have there, but it's not helping advance things one little bit. So we move into the storming stage and we can start dropping out little bits of knowledge. Now this might demonstrate to people how clever you are, what bits of information that you've contrived to have and keep to yourself. But is it behaving ethically in terms of how we take a team forward? No, it's certainly not. How different is that, I wonder, however, to saying this much I can tell you. There are other issues, but I think I'm bound by confidentiality there, and it's something that I need to discuss before we go any further. Can you see that's completely different? That's actually sort of moving from a storming stage where aren't I clever, I know this and I can choose to tell you or not to tell you, to actually there is stuff that we might need to know, but we're actually looking at procedural stuff here, so because it's about confidentiality. Assist in the storming stage if you will, but please don't expect the team to advance as well as you would like it to. And when I indicated earlier that as we move through the Tuckman model, it tends to be very much a kind of a self-reflective process. Well, what would I do? Then I think we ask some quite difficult questions of ourselves. So we move to the norming stage from the storming stage, where we've got some rules established for how we're going to share knowledge, and this can simply be how we feed back to wider meetings. It can be how we feed back to our colleagues outside of the meeting at that time, and we need to have a pretty good idea about, well, what's that like. If you recall previous clips, I've said, what's the confidentiality here? Who can we share this with? That's very different because it's actually procedural. It's within the framework of norming. But here we go. We go on to performing, and we're now looking at, let's think about trust again, a high trust organisation where we can share knowledge according to what's needed. So if we know or have access to a piece of information, to an approach, to a skill, to a reference, we need to share it with those who need to know it. And how does that place us? Well, all right, it does change, I suppose, the idea that here's the go-to person if you want information about something quite technical, quite refined. It does change that, but it moves it, I think, to a far more facilitatory position where, sure, you're still the go-to person, but you're not hanging on to anything. There's nothing intentional about your holding information back. And what it also, I think, does is it establishes you as a person who understands where the needs are being generated and what sort of information or signposting you might have at your disposal to enable us all to address those needs for the greater benefit of the individual, the team, the company, and also the team's relationship with the external world and other stakeholders and partners. Okay, well, I hope that's been helpful and you've got something of an overview now of where that sharing of knowledge sits alongside all the other elements in the Tuckman model. And the next component we're going to take a look at is all important discussions that we need to have around performance. Okay, thanks, and I look forward to you joining me again.